So good day everyone, especially to you mom. This is Juliet Marinas Uncle from BSHM2E. So for today's video, I would like to present our group reporting, which is the group 3, and it is about the third wave of feminism. So we are the group 3, Juliet Angko, Malumi Amalay, Ruel Inghog, Wayne Talabok, and Junalasi Pistaño. So, so this is the feminism, the third wave. The third wave. So, as the third wave started in the 1990s, women's rights activists longed for a movement that continued the work of their predecessors while addressing their current struggles. In addition, these women wanted to create a mainstream movement that has inclusive of the various challenges women from different races, classes, and gender identities were facing. Image left to right, second wave feminist Bella Abzug with law professor Aneta Hill. Although it is difficult to isolate the single incident that started the third wave, there are the two events that are traditionally credited with inspiring a new generation of women's rights activists. The first one was the 1991 Anita Hill hearings that sparked national feminist support when Hill testified against a Supreme Court nominee for sexual harassment. So while watching the hearings, Rebecca Walker, daughter of second wave icon Alice Walker, began describing the political climate as the third wave. In addition, beginning in the 1990s, underground feminist punk rock bands surfaced in riot girl groups. These girl groups combined punk culture with politics, feminism, and style. Both of these occurrences helped usher the feminist movement into a new era of women's activism. So, the third wave literature. Right at the beginning of the third wave, feminist scholars started to publish new literature that help readers better understand feminist theory. So, in 1989, lawyer and theorist Kimberly Crenshaw developed intersectionality to show someone's various identities like race, class, gender, and etc. overlap to influence how they are treated. This theory led to intersectional feminism that formed response to the multiple ways women are oppressed. In 1990, two other revolutionary scholars incorporated the idea of intersectionality into their work. Judith Butler's Gender Trouble, Feminism and the Subversion of Identity, and Patricia Hill Collins' Black Feminist Thought, Knowledge, Consciousness, and the Politics of Empowerment. Both approach feminist theory by studying women's social and political identities.
So next is the Anita Hill hearing. On October 11, 1991, the world watched as attorney Anita Hill testified against U.S. Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas for sexual harassment. In the televised hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, Hill declared that Thomas repeatedly harassed her while she was his employee at the Department of Education and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. According to Hill, When she worked at seaside, Thomas frequently pressured her to go on the dates and often made sexual inappropriate comments during their work conversations. Despite Hill's testimony, Thomas was still confirmed as a Supreme Court justice after the three-day hearings. Although Thomas and Hill were African American, Thomas believed that the hearing against him was equivalent to a high-tech lynching. This metaphor suggested that he was being persecuted because of his race. As they both testified before an all-white, all-male committee, the history of African American women also being lynched and persecuted was not discussed. Lawyer and author of the intersectionality theory Kimberly Crenshaw was a member of Hill's legal team. She later wrote that the belief that lynching was the ultimate symbol of racist terror erased black women from the picture. In addition, one of the most prominent historical figures against the lynching of African Americans was a black woman. After the hearings, African American feminists and historians across the United States came together and collectively $50,000 to purchase a full package ad in the New York Times. Their manifesto entitled African American Woman in Defense of Ourselves was signed by 1,600 women, including black feminist historians Barbara Ransby, Deborah King, and Elsa Barkley Brown. These women fought against the treatment of Hill during the hearings and stated, "We are particularly outraged by the racist and sexist treatment of Professor Anita Hill, an African-American woman who was maligned and castigated for daring to speak publicity of her own experience of sexual abuse." Following Hill's story, many other women had the courage to speak out against their own experiences with sexual misconduct. The Year of the Woman. For many mainstream feminists, the Hill case marked as a turning point in women's activism. Not only were women speaking publicly about sexual assault, but the visibility of the case also caused women to question the male-dominated leadership in Congress. Before the hearings, 7 Democratic women from the House of Representatives marched over to the Senate to demand a further investigation of the accusations against Thomas. Although he was still confirmed as a justice, feminists began to push for a more active role in political leadership. The next year, more women were elected to Congress on voting day than in any previous decade. That year became known as the Year of the Woman, and 27 women were elected to Congress.
One of the earliest women's groups that contributed to the success of the Year of the Woman was Emily List. This woman political network candidate to successfully run for political office. This woman used the strategy of raising money early in a candidate's campaign so it would attract more donors. This principle was the foundation of the organization named Emily List. That is an acronym for Early Money is like yeast. Because yeast makes the dough rise, Emily List continues to endorse pro-choice Democratic women running for office up to this day. In addition to political affinity groups, punk rock musicians also began to emerge with distinctly feminist agendas responding to various forms of sexism. Feminist musicians decided to organize a girl riot. Through their activism, these women started their own bands and created their own publications dedicated to women's empowerment. Much of their content addressed issues including sexism, patriarchy, abuse, racism, sexuality, and rape. Popular bands such as Bikini Kill, but brought mobile and heavens to Bitsy only the strength of activism. Prior to the evolution of the Riot Girl movement, the Guerrilla Girls set the foundation for radical feminist revolt. They formed in 1985 in response to sexism and racism in the cat world. This anonymous group of feminist artists from New York City decided to take the feminist art movement one step further by intentionally disrupting the status quo. These women recreated posters, billboards, and made public appearances in guerrilla masks to reveal the sexist and racist practices in the creation and study of visual art. One of their most famous posters was an image of a naked woman on a gorilla mask next to the phrase, "Do women have to be naked to get into the Met Museum?" The poster also provides statistics that shows the low number of women featured in the modern art sections compared to the high percentage of nude art that features women.
Statements from Riot Girl Manifesto, published in 1991 in the Bikini Kill Zone 2. Because us girls crave records and books and fanzines that speak us that we feel included and can understand in our own ways. Because we want to make it easier for girls to see, hear each other's work so that we can share strategies and criticize, applaud each other. Because we don't want to assimilate to someone else's boy standards or of what is or isn't. Because we are angry at a society that tells us girl dumb, girl bad, girl weak. Many women flock to these punk rock groups that valued self-expression and collective revolt. Kathleen Hanna was known for empowering women at her concerts by shouting Revolution Girl style now, or girls to the front, to encourage her female attendees to come to the front of the audience. Not only did this provide a safe space for women at rock concerts, but this practice also became a symbol of the call for women to be brought to the front in all areas of life. As the movement grew, the Riot Girl bands developed across the country and established nationwide chapters. Many of these feminists played their music during pro-choice rallies and advocated for the reproductive rights of women. Although the prominence of riot girl groups was short-lived, their specific brand of feminism resonated with many women that may not have identified with the concepts of practices of mainstream cookie-cutter feminism. These girl riots groups inspired radical global activism for decades to come, with riot girl bands and chapters forming in Asia, Europe, Australia, and Latin America well into the 2000s.
The end of third wave. As a third wave feminist transition into 21st century, it was clear that there were several individualized goals of the movement. Women spoke out in various interest groups about everything including abortion, eating disorders, and sexual assault. However, the Anita Hill hearings and Riot Girl group of the early 1990s were central to the development of this third wave. In 2003, Robin Morgan edited an updated version of her original feminist anthology written in 1970. Her new edition called Sisterhood is Forever, the Woman's Anthology for a New Millennium, featured pieces by both Anita Hill, The Nature of the Beast, Sexual Harassment, and Kathleen Hanna of the Riot Girl Movement, Gen X Survivor, from Riot Girl rock star to feminist artist. Some scholars believe that the third wave never came to an end. It continues on this day. However, for others, new technology and social campaigns were marked the beginning of the fourth wave feminism. Here's the credits and resources. That's all. Thank you very much and God bless.